Chris Powell, former pastor, turned into community advocate, fighting food disparity. I am so fascinated by your story because I think a lot of times we get stuck in one thing, like this is my career and this is all I'm going to do. But you show that change can be done and it can be done effectively. First, just tell me, you're not from Knoxville.
I'm not from Knoxville.
Tell me about your childhood. How did you get here?
Well, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio originally. I was actually pastoring in Cincinnati. I went to college in Atlanta, Morehouse College.
That's a Morehouse man.
Then I went to seminary in Louisville, Kentucky, pastored in Bowling Green, Kentucky, left Bowling Green, went to Hackensack, New Jersey, left Hackensack and came back to Cincinnati. Was there for 15 years, just kind of felt like it was time to, move on, if you would. And the Tabernacle Baptist Church extended a call to me to come and serve as their pastor. And that was in 2008, and I've been here since.
How did you even get called to the ministry? When did you know this is what I want to do?
I was in college. I always wanted to be in ministry. Most of my pastor friends say you're supposed to run from it. I was kind of running toward it, and just felt an affinity for at least a preached word, if you would. And it was just kind of waiting for to get this confirmation from the Eternal One, say, Chris, I need you to do this. And so accepted that call, if you would, my sophomore year in college. Yeah.
My goodness. What was preaching like for you?
Oh, well, preaching was life for me. I mean, for the most part, it still is. I love preaching. I love disseminating God's word. I love digging into it. I love sharing it with people. I love discussing it, arguing about it, debating it. That's my heart, and finding the truth in it, because I find in that grounding for everything else that I do, and it gives me a foundation point. That's my foundation point. I would say that. Yeah.
What was your time like at Tabernacle? You were telling me about some of the community things you all were doing that sparked some interesting exchanges with you.
Yeah, so when I first moved here in 2008, well, prior to me moving here, the church interviewed. They had the wife and I come down with the family. They wanted to introduce the family to their potential new pastor.
Right,
correct?
right.
And one of the deacons, LD, took me around the community to kind of give me an overview of what Knoxville looked like and everything. And while we were going around, I don't really remember. I was tired. I was dozing off. But what I remember,
because you have to be on the whole time in the interview. You're
it
tired.
was like a Saturday morning. We had just got here that night before, I think. And so we're going around the city, and he shows me this cemetery, Oddfellow Cemetery. And for some reason, it captivated me. And so I'm looking at this cemetery, and I'm like, wow, most people buried here were born in slavery. This is an embarrassment. It was a mess. And so that next day, the church interviewed me. I had preached that morning and did a Sunday school class or what have you. And they had asked me what would be one of the first things I would do as pastor. Now, I've been asked that question plenty of times before. I've candidated for a few churches. So I kind of have my pet answer. We'll just wait and observe and see what the community needs are. But I answered it this time. I said, the first thing we're going to do is clean that cemetery. And so they did extend the call, and I think that was in September of 2008. Well, December, we were out there cleaning that.
In the winter.
It wasn't. There's no such thing as winter here in Knoxville.
I'm from Miami. You were in the heart of winter. It was so cold.
I remember going to school, and it was 72 below, waiting on the bus to come pick me up.
Okay.
We know about winter in Cincinnati. This is no winter.
But
it was a mild.
72 in winter in Miami, so go ahead.
It was a mild. It was like a fall day.
Okay.
And we're out there mowing, we're chainsawing, we're putting headstones back up. We got bags and bags of debris we've collected. And this brother pulls up in a pickup truck. He stops me and starts thanking us for what we're doing.
Wow.
And I'm like, cool, man. I'm like, I'm in.
Right.
He's appreciating what we're doing in the community, da-da-da-da-da. And so my Southern Baptist raising said, I've caught a fish.
Oh, yeah, it's time for the invitation.
It's time for the invitation,
come on to
right?
the church.
So I said, brother, why don't you come join us at the church? And he looks me in the eye, and may I quote?
Go for it.
Okay.
I think it's fine.
He said, I ain't coming to your damn church.
Now, as a pastor, has anybody ever said anything like that to you?
Not that way. I have had some
I'm not
interesting
coming,
response.
but-
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not coming. But that was most direct, and I would say it's harsh, maybe. Yeah, and it stunned me. I sat there dumbfounded with my mouth open as this brother pulled off, and I'm like, why he cussed my church? And in time, I don't think he was cussing my church. I think he was cussing church in general. But fast forward to 2016,
Right.
and First Baptist Concord did the study on church attendance here in Knoxville, and attendance was down. I mean, 20% of Knoxvillians go to church on a regular basis, and regular was considered once a month. So you have 80% of Knoxvillians in the buckle of the Bible Belt,
Right,
who are not going to church on a regular basis. And I'm like, well, he's not coming to my church. Most Knoxvillians aren't going to church. And I'm talking to my pastor friends across the country, across denominational lines, across racial lines, and they're telling me the same thing. Church attendance is going down. I'm like, well, maybe we need to do church differently. But I don't know what that looks like. I'm a baby boomer. I don't know what that's like. I'm stuck in my ways. But that message that brother gave me that day, though, that harsh statement really began to revolutionize my thinking on how we do church.
that was the seed.
That was the seed.
That was the seed.
And if I didn't even ask him his name.
Yeah.
You know, I was more concerned about getting a butt in the pew
Yeah.
than I was who this brother was as a person. And if I ever met him, if he ever knows me, I'm like, brother, I'm sorry. Give me a chance again. You know. Well, so what happens in 2018? I've always done a little gardening. I don't consider myself a gardener, actually. I just like watching stuff grow.
Okay.
And I always did a little garden. We had a little plot at the church. And I'm like, why don't we turn this into a garden? You know. And that way I could kill two birds with one stone. I could do what I like and be at the church at the same time.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Folk can't say he wasn't at the church. He was at
Come walk with me in the garden.
There you go. So what happens is we start the community garden. And while we're in preparation for it, one of the gentlemen from the botanical garden had come over, Robert Hodge, and we began to talk about the potential of this area, what we could do with it. And then we got into this discussion about food disparity and a food desert. And
Which is a very popular phrase. Everybody's talking about that right now.
yeah. But this was in 2018 too. And it was starting to become popular then, I guess you could say. But I really didn't, I know about it, but didn't think about it,
Right.
you know. And because this food desert never bothered me. It never affected me because I've always had transportation. I've always been able to get in my car and load up. But when I learned about this thing is that the USDA says if your community is 1/3 of your community is living at poverty level and more than a mile away from the nearest grocery store or farmer's market, then you're a food desert. Well, from where we were at that point, we were 2 miles away. The 37915 zip code does not have a grocery store in it. No grocery store.
So that little quick, I'm going to run and get some milk real quick. I'm going to run. We
We're
forgot
going to
bread.
the
Let
dollar
me go.
stores. We're going to the
Right.
corner store,
Right.
where it's serving processed foods and things like that. And then you have this whole transportation issue. You know, when it's taking people 2 or 3 hours to get to the grocery store, when I could literally go to the dollar store across the street and get some noodles.
Right.
You know, and then the majority of our communities living at below $20,000 a year. You know, and that's your zip code shouldn't determine your accessibility to fresh, affordable fruits and vegetables. And that plagued me. And almost in the twinkling of an eye, it became my passion. I'm like, we can fight this. We can fight this in the 1.5 zip code.
Did you find that when you hear those numbers and statistics, you know, I find a lot of times in news we throw out numbers and statistics, but they're not real until you apply them to people and you kind of see them in real life. Did you find that a lot of the people that you were ministering to or talking to were a part of those numbers? Was it kind of like an eye-opening experience?
Yes. I got stories.
Yeah.
We had one gentleman who said he was on our Fannie Lou, our veggie van, right? And so we take fresh vegetables out 2 or 3 times a week. That's as a result of our partnership with Second Harvest and Nourish Knoxville. So we're taking fresh vegetables out, and his brother says, I haven't eaten fresh produce in years. Yeah. I'm like, what? I said, what did you just say? He said, I haven't eaten fresh produce in years.
Years?
Years. I said, well, we're going to try to make it at least weekly now, you know. Wow. I hear people, I see people every time we go out who are in wheelchairs from curable diseases, you know, sugar diabetes, hypertension, heart issues, because they don't have an adequate diet. Because the food that we're providing for them, this fresh produce, if they were to go to the grocery store and buy it, it's going to cost them, you know, literally arm and leg. And so I see that. I hear people telling me almost every time we go, if you wouldn't have come by today, we wouldn't have eaten this week.
My God.
You know.
You posted a photo on Facebook when Fannie Lou was out at one of the stops, and it was a line of people, like you said, in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And my first thought when I saw was, where is this man at? That this many people needing wheelchairs are lining up to get food. Yeah. In Knoxville.
Right. Knoxville, right. You know. And when I saw that, because they were lined up before we got there. Okay. And I told one of my friends, I said, take this picture right now. You know, I said, because this is exactly the issue that we're struggling with, you know. And then I'm hearing, you know, one lady said that she has to, when she takes her 2 or 3 hours to get to the grocery store, because she has to use public transportation. But what got me, Tearsa, is when she said she can only purchase what her walker will allow her to carry. Right. That knocked me for a loop, because I never thought about that.
Because you load up your trunk,
I load
like
up my
most
trunk.
of us do.
And if I need to go back, I just go back.
Right.
And then and if I get a whole bunch, I call the kids and y'all come get them.
Right. That's right.
You know.
Same.
Yeah. So it was shocking, it was eye opening. So when we go out to take out those fresh vegetables, it's rewarding that, you know, we know that we're hitting a need, that we're meeting a need, but it's also some of the saddest things to see the people who are literally dying because they don't have fresh vegetables and fruit that's accessible and affordable.
So seeing the things that you've seen, this has moved you out of the ministry, and now you're doing this full time.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say it moved me out of the ministry.
Of a formal church.
Yeah, out of a building. Definitely out of the building. You know, we do have church at our little farm up under the tree. You know? But but it's taught me that church is not an address. It's not a building. It's not a point on your GPS. It's what we do. It's who we are. That's who it is for me. Because now people come to my farm who never, and I mean never, would come to my Black Baptist church of brick and mortar. You know, we have agnostics, atheists, formers, you know. Of course, we got people that are vegans, vegetarians. They love Chris Battle. You know?
They love Battlefield Farms.
LGBTQ community. Everybody comes to the garden. You know, there's something that's equalizing about working in the soil together, you know. And we have conversations. We develop relationships. And I'm not trying to get you to come to my building so I can pay the bills. I'm just trying to get to know you as a human being and who you are. And you get to know me. And prayerfully, for my sake, people will ask me why I do what I do. And that's when I get to share why I do what I do. You know, it's because I love Jesus. And I want him to I want you to be a part of his life and him a part of your life. That's ultimately my goal.
Does this feel like the biggest ministry you've ever done?
Yes. I think because it's probably, I don't know if I've been happier in my life.
Really?
Well, except when I married Toma.
Understood.
Yeah.
And I've met But in terms of just fulfillment,
in terms of ministry,
of
I mean, there's fulfillment, purpose. I mean, and what I have seen, that God has just done some marvelous things, creative things, some innovative things, and has brought me to this new understanding of what the faith is all about. And it's exciting. And I wake up every morning excited about getting into the garden and doing the work, doing the ministry.
You know, outside of the garden, Battlefield Farms, talk a little bit about your involvement in the community. Justice Knox, there are so many different things you have your hand in that's not necessarily fruits and vegetables.
Correct. Yeah. So, 2016, Justice Knox was established here. I think I was the first president, co-president. And Justice Knox is a coalition of faith-based organizations, I would say now, because we have churches, we have a mosque, we have a synagogue, and we have Battlefield Farm.
That's right.
People come to Battlefield Farm that don't fit in those other categories.
Right.
You know? And what I love about it is that it shows what happens when churches come together to fight injustice. I believe that we serve a God of justice. You know, throughout the scripture, it talks about God is a God of justice. Do justice, do justice, you know, over and over and over again. Yet we see that our community is suffering, and there's all these churches. You know, we only have like 20 churches that are involved, but if we got all those churches together, all the membership, we'd have over 10,000 people. Okay, and what we realize is there's two types of power. There's organized money and organized people. We don't have the people, we don't have the money, but we got the people. And if we can organize people to begin to make impact in our community, where people are treated fairly, where justice is running rapidly through the streets, then I think we're doing exactly what God told us to do. Sometimes we get kind of stuck in our churches because we got to pay bills. You know, we don't want to upset the cart. You know,
and there's routine. You know, pastor's anniversary. There's a certain routine, yearly calendar routine.
Absolutely. You know, and I get that.
Yes.
I get that. But there's a greater needs. You know, our churches. My desire is that our churches would look like our communities. You know, but oftentimes they don't. We pass 100 churches to get to our church. You know, but why? Okay, maybe it's a denominational thing. Maybe it's a how we do worship thing. I don't know. But it really should be about how I'm relating to the people thing. You know, if I'm relating to you, if I'm talking with you, if I have a relationship with you, then we're doing church. You know, and so, I mean, you know, full circle, I guess, Justice Knox showed me that when churches come together, that there is power to alleviate the issues that our community is struggling with. And that excites me about that.
Do you ever have some days where you're like, what am I doing? This is so different. This is hard, or this is, you know, I'm just having a day.
No.
Really?
I haven't had one since I started this. There was some,
Wow.
I promise you, I haven't. It's been like, as much as I was planning on retiring. I mean, I got a Master's of Arts in Hebrew Bible. I got a Master's of Divinity. I did my BA in religion. I've been preaching for 40 years now. You know, God, I'm getting old.
No, you're not. You're just getting started, apparently.
Yeah. And you know, I'm like, I was planning on retiring from pastoring. You know, you know, preach my last sermon, go somewhere.
Right. Get a cabin.
Right.
Yeah. A house on the lake.
But I have never been so excited about doing ministry than I am right now. Wow. I mean, there's been some, you're going to have days, absolutely. But I have never regretted making this move. There were some days now that were a little shaky in terms of how am I going to make it, but over and over again, God proved himself to be, you know, a providing God.
Are you focused more on Knoxville, or would you like to see the mission of Battlefield Farm expand?
I'm focused on the 37915 zip code. Right. This problem is expansive, absolutely. But I'm learning I have to stay focused on my little piece of the garden, if you would, you know. And because 37915 doesn't have a grocery store, we have one farmer's market that we started.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Sunday.
Right. It starts. We're going to be starting in July this year, July through September, 1 through 4 at the Walter Hardy Park. Okay.
I like that plug. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
But you know, I'm like, we can focus on here. I don't want to get so involved in everything else that I miss that I gotta feed the people here. I really want to go out of business.
You want to see grocery stores,
I want to see
farmers,
grocery
all those
farmers.
things.
I want everything that's affordable. Okay, that our people can have access to, and not have to worry about, eating mess.
Right.
That's my goal. I don't want to have to do this. I love doing this. I'm energized by doing this, but my goal is not to have to do it.
I love that. When you brought up the farmer's market, the first thing I thought about was, you've got this farmer's market in East Knoxville. I've always thought of farmers markets being downtown, not just Knoxville, but just they're downtown. They're nice neighborhoods. They're almost like a thing to go to.
Yeah.
Like it's farmers market, take my Instagram picture with the vegetable. You know what I mean? But to have it accessible in an urban community, what was that like for you in terms of the reaction of seeing people get to come out in their neighborhood, walk right over to the park?
It's interesting. We haven't got the response that we really wanted from the community.
Okay.
I think people aren't used to it.
They're not. I know they're not.
They're just not used to it, So we're trying to figure out how to fix that. But yeah, so it has been wonderful in the sense that people come. I mean, we've had people like you who've come from, they're just going through town. They're on the way to Florida, and they looked up, oh, there's a farmer's market. We're going to stop and go see what this farmer's market's like. I mean, I've had people do that,
I have looked up farmer's markets out of town. That's so funny you should say that. That does happen.
Yeah. But I guess it's like this. You can, we're bringing these fruits and vegetables to the people. It's going to be up to them to come get it. And we hope that we can get that door a little wider so more people would come in the community.
Can I ask a keeping it real question when it comes to fruits and vegetables and fresh fruit? Do you find people don't know what to do with it anymore?
Absolutely.
We're at a process. I mean, everybody fast food. I'm gonna get a number 2 at wherever.
Yeah.
Do they know what to do?
Well, that's one of the issues. People don't cook as much as they used to. And then food is what I'm learning too. Food is regional. We had some butternut squash on the truck one day, and the people were like, "What is this?" I'm like, it's butternut squash,
What do I do with it?
What I do with it? You eat it. How I prepare it, So we had to have somebody out there, literally out there, showing them how to cut it up and how to like that. I never forget a couple years when we first started. One of the gardeners had kohlrabi, right? And I'm like, what is that?
I was like, I don't know what that
and
is.
I know, and she goes, it's kohlrabi. I said, baby, black folk don't eat kohlrabi. But here's the thing. What happened was, she got one cut up. It's like it has the texture of a apple maybe, but looks like a cabbage and got little like roots coming out. Ugly little thing.
I have never heard of this.
Kohlrabi. Look it up. And what's interesting, so she cut one up. We had a guy that served honey, and people started getting it, dipping in honey. And to this day, people ask me, do we have kohlrabi?
Wow.
Exposure, So it's very interesting what foods people take. If I have collard greens, they go
I know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what to do with that.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
But butternut squash and.
But I love it. I think we're at a time right now where people sometimes just need a little guidance for their own health because we're so used to doing certain things over and over again. What does the future look like for you? I understand. Can we talk about a certain book that somebody may be writing?
Yeah, somebody better hurry up too. Yeah, we are in the process of writing a book, and it's called "I Ain't Come to Your Damn Church, But I Will Come to Your Garden."
What's it about?
And
it's
about my experience. I guess I've just given the whole plot away. Okay. It's just about my experience here in Knoxville and this transition from traditional pastorate to going to the farm, from the pulpit to the garden. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Real quick, I have to talk about your family life because I do love the fact that you've got a huge family, a very untraditional, huge family.
Yeah.
19 kids total?
19 children total. Okay. Yeah, we have, we've adopted like 15 kids, something like that at last count. Adopted or have legal custody over.
Yeah.
And so we're like down to 4 in the house right now. So I'm real excited. I think the most we've ever had in the house at the same time was 8. Okay. Because they range from, my oldest is 37 and the youngest is 10.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's...
So soon you have a quiet life. Eventually you retire.
Yeah.
All 19 kids will be phased out of the house. and do you just see yourself gardening from this point on?
Yeah.
You are fascinating, and it has been
Oh,
so
thank you.
fascinating talking to you. And again, I just hope this inspires people not to be stuck into one thing because maybe your purpose evolves
Yeah, I
over
think I
time.
tell people, live in your passion. It's something you love to do. Do it. Do it. You know, what's that phrase says? If you love what you do, and get paid for it, you'll never have to go to work.
A day in your life. That's right.
You know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Chris Battle, thank you.
Oh,
I
thank you for
appreciate
having
you.
me. Bless
You are
you.
absolutely a pleasure.
I appreciate
Thank you.
it.